Om Agyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha Sarva Vedhaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of light to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Ditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Brahmananda Pathaya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madekavando matsangin madguro mamahadana manishtaraka madvagya madananda namastute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayim atinichochatakara anamuncha kadachimam premna hritkanta jaspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Kantara Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. So today we're continuing with our chapter 3, which is entitled Krishna is the Source of All Incarnations. And where I would like to welcome His Grace Arjuna Saka Prabhu. he's joining us for Bhakti Vaibhava a week later, well, not a unit later, but he already took Bhakti Vaibhava in the past. So I believe he will be with us for the rest of Bhakti Vaibhava Module 1. Okay, so yeah, basically we were listing the different incarnations, and we came to that famous verse, the Paribhasa Sutra. And then now we're coming to a section in the Bhagavatam where it's actually describing and glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. As I mentioned before, this first canto is very much about the history of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the introduction to the Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami will begin speaking in the second canto, and now what we're hearing is all the events that lead towards the appearance of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And Srimad-Bhagavatam is listed in this chapter, Krishna is the source of all incarnations, because Srimad-Bhagavatam is also an incarnation of God. Is the incarnation, is the literary incarnation. So we're coming to a very beautiful section of verses, very beautiful purports. And so make sure you have your books ready. Let's see, 1 second. Okay, so let's do a little recap actually, and then that's you can see my screen, right? So this is a brief summary of the first canto. We have like the introduction and the preface. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, that we didn't speak so much in the preface of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. It's such an important writing, you know. It's like a mission statement. So I was meant to have said that you know, please go through the preface carefully and read it many times. It's wonderful. Okay, so we have Canto 1, and we are just concluding Chapter 3. Sutta Goswami is welcomed by the sages, and the sages have asked questions. Okay. Now, chapters 4 to 6 is regarding Narada Muni and Vyasadeva, and how Srila Vyasadeva came to the realization or to the point of writing the Srimad-Bhagavatam, after he had compiled all the Vedic literatures. Then from chapters 7 to 16, we're hearing about the disappearance of Krishna and his associates and the appearance of Maharaj Parikshit. There are different ways to structure the first canto. In fact, I'm going to give you, on this very same class, I'm going to give you a different structure according to the questions asked by Shonaka Rishi to Sutta Goswami. But in any case, it's just nice to have like an overview about the first canto. And for that matter, it's very nice to have an overview of the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it gives us like a, you know, it helps us to know what's happening. What is the context of the verses? What is the context of the dialogue that are taking place? What is it leading to? Rather than just hearing a verse isolated and, you know, we don't know exactly what's happening. And then the chapter, the canto concludes with the meeting of Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami, chapter 17 to 19. So far in the first unit, we saw the different questions of the sages, right? The 6 questions by the sages. So, okay, so what was the first question? You can unmute yourself. You can type it out. What was the first question?
What is the ultimate good or beneficial to everyone?
Yes, very good. Okay. Shreyas, yeah. What is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? Pumsam ekantata shreyas. Tata tatrajasa yusmam. Bhagavatam yat vinishchitum. Pumsam ekantata shreyas. Tam nasam situm arhasi. Please tell us what is the ultimate and absolute good for the people in general. Okay. And what was the answer to that question?
Worshipping Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord.
Okay, worshipping the Supreme Lord. Yeah. What verse? Specifically, what verse answers this question? Siddharshi says Bhakti, devotional service. Yeah. 126. Yeah. Sabai pum samparo dharmo yato bhakti adoksaye. Haituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. It's actually pure bhakti. Yeah? Pure bhakti. That's the ultimate, absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Okay, what was the second question?
What is the essence of all scriptures?
Very good. Burini Burikarmani Shrotavyani Vibhagasa Atra Sadotraya Saram. What is the essence of all scriptures? There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties. Please tell us what is the essence of all, just so that people may also become satisfied by following these instructions. The sages are also concerned about the situation in Kali Yuga, and there is such a vast body of literatures, of scriptures, of directions, and they know that people in Kali Yuga will be degraded. They won't have so much time. So they need the essence. Just give us the essence. What also actually is very much connected with the first question. What is it that is going to benefit the people in Kali Yuga the most? So what is the essence? Answer to this question? Someone who has not responded yet? And give it to me in your own words, clearly. I am, I'm just a random person. I come to, you meet me somewhere and I ask you, okay, what is the essence of the Vedas? What is the essence of all the scriptures? Can you please tell me? I'm very eager to know, and I don't have time to read them all.
To establish a relationship with Krishna.
Okay, to establish a relationship with Krishna. Yes. And how do we do that? I mean, that's an obvious answer. Come on, if you can answer that, how do we develop a relationship with Krishna? Ajuna Thaka, through devotional service. Yeah. So the essence of all the scriptures is that one must engage in devotional service. And we were explaining that verses 6 and 7, they are both answering the first two questions, actually. And and we describe how verse 7, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajojita Janayati Asuvaira Gyanam Chayat Ahaitukam is addressing how, through the performance of devotional service, one can attain the goals of all other practices, such as Jnana and Vairagya, automatically. And therefore, the essence basically is that one must engage in the practice of devotional service. Okay. Third question, I put it on the slide already. So for what purpose the Lord appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? So for what purpose? Someone else? You can unmute yourself and just tell me if you want also, in your own words. Silence.
Hare
To
Krishna.
protect the devotees and to annihilate the atheists and demons. To protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. That is the reason that he appeared to.
That's true. That's true. But I want more than that. That's a Bhagavad Gita level. I would like to. I like to hear more. Okay, Lila Manohar Prabhu, he says to reclaim the fallen souls. What is the actual verse that is given? What are the actual verse? We already read that verse.
1:3:28.
Huh?
28, text 28.
1:3:28. But there is a verse before that also.
It's the last verse.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me if I don't pronounce your name properly. But that's it. To reclaim those in the mode of goodness. Okay? The answer is given in many different places. Yeah? And like if someone quoted 1:3:28, yeah, it's also like all these incarnations appear to kill the enemies of Indra. Okay, fine. But ultimately we also understand that the Lord can do these things through his agents also. But the Lord appears basically to attract the living entities back to his own abode.
Yep.
Okay, fourth question. Fourth question.
Can I say, Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. What are Krishna's activity in relation to this creation of the universe? Not universe,
Yeah,
in relation to the creation.
Okay. That was, and this was answered. Where was this answer? Shyama Bhakti.
It is answered in 3rd chapter.
Okay. Only? And where? You can type on the chat box if you know the answer to this.
I forgot.
1.343.
Huh?
1.343.
I couldn't understand actually. 14343, you said?
1:30.
It's actually described at the beginning of the 3rd chapter and at the end of the 2nd chapter. Simple. We already discussed it extensively. Do you remember?
1:31.
Now we're getting there. We're getting there. Good. You're answering. Siddharth got it right. Radharaman, thank you. Shyama Priya, very good. Thank you. 5th question. What is the 5th question?
Lord Incarnation Leela Avatar.
Okay. Adventures, what are the adventures he performed in his various incarnations? And we already saw the answer is on the 3rd chapter. And now we come to the 6th question. What was the 6th question? At least to the point in the Bhagavatam that we're on today.
Where the religious have taken
Center.
Tell me the whole thing.
Where have religious principles gone after the Lord departure to his own abode?
Yeah, Bruhi Yogeshware Krishna Brahmaniya Varmadharmani. That, since Lord Sri Krishna has departed now, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc., where have the religious principles taken shelter?
Yes.
Now that Krishna is gone, and going with him, he's taking, all his associates, religious principles, everything. Where have religious principles gone for shelter? And the answer to this question is what is coming now in this section of the Srimad-Bhagavatam that we're going to be discussing now. So before the actual verse is 1:343.
43.
Krishna Swadam Upagate Dharma Gyana Divisaha Kalaona Stad Shangsha Puranarko Dunodita. But prior to this verse that we're beginning today with, verse 40, is leading towards that verse. I believe this is a memorization verse. We can recite it together. You can recite it. You're muted there, but you can recite it with me. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishriyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swastyaya Namaha. Someone would like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read? This Srimad-Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good for all people, and it is all successful and blissful and all perfect. Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.3.40.
Nice. So this verse is telling us that the Srimad-Bhagavatam is Purana Brahma Samhitam, is the literary incarnation of God. And it is, it's a glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So sometimes, we may be asked, we can do a little brainstorm here. And if someone asks you, what is the Srimad-Bhagavatam? What do you say? How do you define the Srimad-Bhagavatam? We can just do a little sharing here. What is Srimad-Bhagavatam?
It demonstrates the pastimes of Lord and his devotees.
Okay, nice. It's a book that demonstrates the pastimes of the Lord and the devotees, cream of the Vedas, books that glorifies Krishna. Okay, what else? The literal representation of the incarnations of the Lord. Yes. What else?
Krishna
Manohar Das, he says, is non-different from the Lord.
Yeah, Krishna himself.
Very good. It's Krishna himself. Everything about the existence. Okay.
It is the source of knowledge. By that knowledge, person can come out of ignorance and can understand the Lord as it is.
Okay. Okay. About the Lord and his exalted devotees, the essence of all scriptures. What else?
It's description of the devotional service.
It's a description of your devotional service. Okay. Historical events of the Lord and the material creation. Very nice. Actually, the Bhagavatam is a historical book in one sense. Why? It's telling us the history of the universe. We're hearing the history of one day of Lord Brahma. It's going through all the different manus, We're hearing the history of the universe, and it's like focusing on different events and personalities and devotees particularly, and his qualities, his their characteristics. Is focusing on certain events that take place during the day of Lord Brahma. Yeah. Okay. Radharaman Prabhu. Okay, Lila Manoharsi can be understood only for a prayer. That's not the answer to the question, because the question is, what is Srimad-Bhagavatam? Okay. No, how can it be understood? Radharaman Sevaka says, is the guide for the people who have lost their vision. Yeah. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the torchlight for people in Kali Yuga. Puranarko Adunodita is the special arrangement by the Lord to give people vision in this dark age of Kali Yuga, right? That's Srimad-Bhagavatam. What else? Anything else from anybody else? Shyama Bhakti, distinguish reality from illusion for the welfare of all. Yeah, especially meant for that. That's what I'm saying. Is giving. It's like a torchlight. And the torchlight is to illuminate the darkness. And what is the darkness? The darkness is actually in our own hearts. the bag. Okay. What else? In your own words, I'm hearing like, quoting from the book, which is very nice, of course, but if you put it in your own words, it has like more like your understanding,
It is for the ultimate perfection of human form of life.
It's for the ultimate perfection of the human form of life. Yes. Why?
Because Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we associate with it. We find Krishna in the pages of Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Very nice. That's the essence of what we're going to read in this purport, actually. It is very, very, very nice. We can associate directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his literary form, in his book form. And we can get the same benefit that we could get as we will directly be associating with the Lord. Okay? What else? Teach people how to perform bhakti and go back home back to God. Yes. Golokeshwari Hanini Devidasi, the art of dying by following devotional service. Yeah, I was hearing, there is this group in India called the Art of Living, right? You heard of that group? It's a famous group.
I've heard about that group, Prabhu, but people in today's world are very scared about death. So, to make them understand what is the purpose of life, it will be much better if we can put, it's a book which tells how to die. So people will start reading and, it speaks about the glories of the Lord. So they can get sukurti.
Say again, I didn't quite understand.
No, in today's world, everyone is scared about death.
Yeah.
So we can tell this book helps one from the death.
Yeah.
This is eternal.
But the problem is that no one wants to hear about death. They're not even interested in hearing about death. They're so scared that it's like, man, don't talk about these things, So, we are not from the art of living. We are from the art of dying.
Yeah, so we tell we're art, it is the art of dying. Once we read Srimad-Bhagavatam, it helps to elevate oneself.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Make you learn the ultimate reality of life, which is death. Shyama Bhakti, the ultimate reality is death. Is that the teaching of the Bhagavatam?
Yes, Prabhu.
Is it? Give me the reference verse.
That's what Parikshit Maharaj is learning from Shukdev Goswami, how to die.
But that's not the ultimate reality, is it?
Okay, ultimate reality is Janma Dasya Yata.
You could call it the ultimate test. I will go for that one, the ultimate test.
Okay.
But not the ultimate reality. What is the ultimate reality?
That Eta Chamsham Kala Pumsham, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so it's guidebook on the path of liberation, teaches how to love the Supreme Lord. Okay. Make us aware of the aim of life. It tells us how we can please and love God. Yeah. Yeah. Srimad-Bhagavatam, as we are reading, and I purposely read the translations to the prayers of Sanatana Goswami today, because they very much tell us what the Bhagavatam is and what, is our friend, our good fortune, our deliverer. Yeah. So this is if we want to actually benefit from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we're gonna get the ultimate benefit when we see the Bhagavatam as non-different from the Lord, as a person who is reciprocating with us, as a friend, as our deliverer, as a teacher. And okay, so let's read a little bit from the purport. It's these two, there is these verses at the end of the chapter. They're very nice. So I hope you don't mind. We're going to read a little more today than usual, because they're just too nice to be missed. They're self-explanatory in many ways. Okay, so we're going for 1-3-40. Just okay. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Srimad-Bhagavatam is a spotless sound representation of all Vedic knowledge and history. There are selected histories of great devotees who are in direct contact with the personality of Godhead. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of the Lord. Actually, just give me a second and I'll put it on the screen, okay? It'll be easier for everybody to focus. Okay. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Krishna and is therefore non-different from him. Srimad-Bhagavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. I don't know if you had an orientation for Bhakti Vaibhava, but I always I conducted the orientation for Bhakti Vaibhava every year. I didn't do it for your group this year. I was doing it for Bhakti Vaibhava. Now I'm doing it from Bhakti Vedanta. And we always begin the course by doing puja to the Srimad Bhagavatam because it can be worshipped. It should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. So we can actually offer proper worship to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can worship the Bhagavatam through oral reception. And we can also, offer, ghee lamp and incense and flowers. Thereby, we can derive the ultimate blessings of the Lord through its careful and patient study. So what means careful and patient study in this context? How do we understand careful and patient? Anyone? Yeah, Ananda Vardhana Prabhu, go for it.
Prabhuji, I consider it's careful and patient. Careful in the sense we don't miss any points which is to be understood, and also we take our time to understand that point. We don't rush as if we are reading the novel.
Yeah, nice. Srinarayan Prabhu?
Yes, the first part, like as Anand Prabhu mentioned, the second part, patient here means maybe we will not be understanding immediately, but as we progress, as we churn the Bhagavatam, then we'll get more and more deeper understanding. So
nice.
We need to be more patient.
Yeah. Yajie, can you pronounce your name so I can guess? I'll try at least. What's your name?
It's Yajie Xie.
For Spanish people, very difficult. This I'm almost impossible, but I'll try my best. Okay. Go ahead.
It's okay. So in my understanding, careful would mean like we should try not to deviate from the original meaning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. We should try to understand as it is, as how it passed down from the Paramparam. And patient, I think I was thinking something similar with Srinarayan Prabhu. Yeah, so we just have to acknowledge it takes time to absorb and assimilate the knowledge we studied.
Yeah, sometimes also like, you look at the Bhagavatam on the shelf and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to read all this? And that's sometimes that's why people give up and they don't read the Bhagavatam. But if you just patiently read a few pages every day, then you will pick the fruits of your patient study. Chatura.
Yeah, we must we must hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam from the right source, the discipline section, not from the outside professional Bhagavatam reciter. And we also not jump to the canto 10, and we just study from canto 1, chapter 1, verse by verse.
Yeah, nice. Very good. Okay, as God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also Srimad-Bhagavatam, we can have all transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, from the recitation of Srimad-Bhagavatam, provided it is received through the medium of the transparent spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, advised all intending visitors who came to see the Lord at Puri to make a study of the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam is a self-realized bona fide spiritual master, and through him only can one understand the lessons of Bhagavatam in order to receive the desired result. Now, listen attentively. One can derive from the study of the Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. It carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. So no wonder that, all our previous acharyas, they have studied scrutinizingly the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and they have praised the Srimad-Bhagavatam, commented upon it. And we have, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he will say that the Bhagavatam will leave the reader will not allow the reader to ask anything else but pure love of God. Basically, that once you read the Bhagavatam, you will understand that there is no higher attainment than that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he praised the Bhagavatam by saying that if all the books, if all the libraries of the world will be burned with all the books for the world, but the one book will remain, the Srimad-Bhagavatam. There won't be any reason to lament. And he says that if all the places of teaching, all the schools are also destroyed, but there is the one place where the Bhagavatam is being recited, then also there is no reason to lament. So the Bhagavatam plays a essential role in our spiritual development, and thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised Sanatana Goswami that by a slight contact with the Bhagavatam, he described what are the 5 most potent items of Bhakti, Panchanga Bhakti, and one of them is Bhagavat Shravana, is hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he says that even one without faith, but just by even a slight contact with any of these 5 activities, for that matter, even without faith, one can attain bhava, one can develop, love for God. So that's the potency of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the importance of the Srimad Bhagavatam in our lives. So the purpose of this course actually is to help us understand this point, and to help us develop a relationship with the Bhagavatam, so that the Bhagavatam become, like we are saying in the prayers by Sanatana Goswami, it becomes my constant companion, my constant companion. And like it's being said here, it will bring light. It will like we heard in the first canto, the blessings that Vyasadeva gives at the beginning. What is that? The Supreme Lord at once is captured within the heart. And loving devotional service becomes established as an irrevocable fact, just by careful and patient study. There is no need to do anything else, just patient and careful study. So we have, you see, this topic is coming again and again and again. And believe me, it's gonna keep coming. This is the essence of the Bhagavatam, is that we have to actually become absorbed in Krishna. And we do that by giving oral reception to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Next text. Text 41. Shri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe. Text 42. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by the sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. So we're hearing now the parampara, how the Bhagavatam was received. Now, again, this is the actual answer to the question by the sages at Namisharanya. Where have religious principles gone for shelter after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode? This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So just as the son of Lord Krishna sets, the son of Srimad-Bhagavatam arises. Bhagavatam and the Lord are not different, and when Krishna departure, the Bhagavatam is there for whom? For the people in Kali to actually become free from the influence of this age. And we have described now how the Kali Yuga age, it deteriorates the qualities of the living being. It is an age of degradation of character. So how we can prevent ourselves, how we can protect ourselves from the influence of Kali Yuga? Through giving oral reception to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And I have we all have personal experience of this, of course. But I do remember in my years of Sankirtan that we were going out on books in the streets, and the Bhagavatam, reading the Bhagavatam was such an armor, an armor in the sense of a shield, that when we read, is actually the special weapon. It's like a weapon in Kali Yuga. It's a special weapon to counteract the influence of Kali Yuga. And through hearing the pages of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we can be actually protected from that atmosphere, environment of godlessness. People are people are godless. The news, the society is become very impersonal. Everybody's promoting the idea that even when you go into the people who are interested in spirituality and self-development, most of the time is impersonal, or is devoid. Yeah, it's devoid of a conception of the absolute, a personal conception of the absolute. So the Bhagavatam is come for that purpose, to establish. And okay, let's read from the purport. This is what the Bhagavatam is establishing. Let's hear from Prabhupada directly. Lord Sri Krishna has his eternal dham, or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya. his form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc., are not, therefore, creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to reestablish codes of religion, which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God. You know, Prabhupada gives these very precise, concise definitions. This is a very wonderful one. It says, real religion means to know God, our relation with him, and our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. Okay? Knowing God, our relationship with him, our duties to him in relation, our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. That's the meaning of religion. So when we're talking with people, I'm very, like, what is, you're a religious person, so does your religion fulfill this? Is answering these questions? Are you getting to know who is God? Are you actually understanding what is your relationship with him, and what are your duties towards him on that relationship, and ultimately what is your destination after death? That's the real religion. Anything else is, Kaitava Dharma, materialistic religion that we discussed before. Religion is not meant for material progress, material gain. Religion is meant for this, as is described here. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals engaged in eating, sleeping, feeding, and mating. They're mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of quarrel, or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal edition of the animals. They have nothing to do with the spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They're so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of their advancement of knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or hawk just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Sri Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And thus both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad-Bhagavatam are like torchbearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life, Lord Shri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad-Bhagavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Srimad-Bhagavatam can see Lord Shri Krishna in person. They are identical. Okay, so now we come to the last verse. Sutta Goswami is speaking. So all learned Brahmanas, this verse is actually going to inspire the sages of Naimisharanya. See if you can tell me why the sages of Naimisharanya are going to get inspired after hearing this verse. He said, all learned Brahmanas, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. So how are the sages and Amisharani becoming inspired by hearing this from Sutta Goswami? Okay, Ananda Vardhana.
Prabhuji, I can understand that because he said that he has listened with rapt attention, and then he was inclined to speak as he heard. So that gave them the, I consider that give.
Say once more.
Because Sutta Goswami, he said that he has heard this conversation with rapt attention. That means that's one thing. And the second thing is now he's equally ready to disclose as he has heard. So these two things give them the sages.
Yeah, very nice, very good. Yeah, Archana Bhakti.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Here he's saying that the person who gave the Bhagavatam is Sukdev Goswami, who was an impersonalist before, and the hearer is Maharaj Parikshit. So both the person who is hearing and the person who is the chanting and the kirtana is done by qualified person. And importantly, Sukdev Goswami was a liberated soul, and he took great interest in Srimad-Bhagavatam, and then gave the Srimad-Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So that would attract the sages who are assembled there, who were not personalists basically.
Nice. Actually, the point being made here is that, Sukadeva Goswami recited the Srimad-Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And this is one of the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The glory of Srimad-Bhagavatam is the glory of his hearers and speakers. The qualities of Sukadeva Goswami were such, that even his gurus were enlightened by hearing from him the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni was there. Vyasadev was there, and they were both enlightened. A message becomes more powerful according to its reciter, or the qualification of the person who is actually giving the message. Like, for example, if I tell you, okay, you are sentenced to death, it has no meaning. But if the judge in the court, he says you're sentenced to death, it carries so much weight, so much more power. So in the case of Sukadeva Goswami, he was fully empowered to deliver the message of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it became especially sweet. And I was there. I sat down there and I heard it directly from him. But not only I heard it directly from him, I realized it. Because there is a difference between hearing something and realizing something. Like, we heard so many times, like, we are not these bodies, right? But how we actually realize it? 100%. To what degree we have realized that we're not these bodies? Because when someone has realization, it comes with, special potency. And this is the point that's being mentioned here, that we must hear the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. And that's our aspiration, that, we are like, we are students of the Bhagavatam. And we're students of the Bhagavatam and trying to develop those qualities of the Bhagavatam, of the Bhagavat, so that, we can actually imbibe the message. We can associate directly with the message, the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is what is being described in this purport. I'm going to read again from this purport a bit, because it's very, these purports are very important. And this section of the Bhagavatam that we're entering now, from now, chapter 4, particularly chapter 5, is like, it's one of the best chapters actually in the Bhagavatam. You have so many like practical instructions and powerful purports. And as I was saying, I don't know if I mentioned that in the previous unit, but Prabhupada himself, he his own empowerment through the Srimad-Bhagavatam. That was the weapon that he brought with him to the West to preach Krishna consciousness, these sets of Bhagavatams. Okay, purport. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Shukadeva Goswami. Okay, so that's one point. I'm going to jump a little bit because otherwise we don't have time. But it says, no one can learn Srimad-Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Shukadeva Goswami and no one else, if one at all wants to see Lord Shri Krishna in the pages. That is the process, and there is no alternative. Okay, so I'm gonna go further down, and it says, simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word nivishta means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Shri Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. Okay, what is the secret? One must hear with rapt attention. One must hear with rapt attention. And no one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Shri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. So here it is, the secret, okay? Hearing is not enough. Hearing is not enough. Huh? We have to hear with rapt attention. And in order to hear with rapt attention, one has to be pure in mind. And in order to be pure in mind, we have to be pure in actions. And pure in action means pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this, we have discussed it before. And you know, how our actions, our attitude outside class influence our learning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. It's not just an you know, university course. This is not like, you know, we're learning some text, we're studying scholarly, learning a few verses here and there, but actually we have to live the Bhagavatam. And it is it's a journey, and that's why I like the praise of Sanatana Goswami, because we're in this long spiritual journey going back home, back to Godhead, and there is going to be like ups and downs and ups again and downs, and you know, but if we make the Bhagavatam our constant companion, then he will deliver us. And Prabhupada exemplified this with his life. He was hearing Bhagavatam right to the end. Not only he was commenting on it, but he was hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam with rapt attention. How do we know we are hearing with rapt attention? Are we hearing, and the mind is we're keeping that constant dialogue in the back of the mind, the ego, but just actually letting the message penetrate into our hearts. So what does it mean to be pure in action? Can anyone explain? And I'd like to hear from others who have not spoken yet, actually. We have quite a few people here. What does it mean, this pure in action? Let's see it. Shama Priya, would you like to explain to us being pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So, pure in action is that we live according to the 4 regulations. The 4 regulations that Prabhupada mentioned, and also the general thing that we shouldn't cheat. The 4 mistakes that is mentioned in Ishopanishad, that do not make mistakes and do not cheat. So, so when we live according to that, then I think that may be pure in action. And also, basically, devotional service is the foremost among all these.
Okay. Good. Someone else. Let's hear more from someone else. Thank you very much. Let's see. Radha Raman Prabhu. Can you add something to Shama Priya Somya Devidas's comments?
Mostly the same things, and the purpose of doing all is engaging all the activities in devotional service. So,
but I want to be more, the answers you're giving, they're very good, but they're broad. I want something more specific, He said, the verse is literally saying when one must be pure in eating. Okay. So what does it mean to be pure in eating?
Eating, like as per scriptures, eating Krishna Prasadam,
okay,
and not harming any other living entity while eating. People eat meat, so they kill somebody just to eat.
Yeah.
So not harming any other living entity for eating. So this could be right.
So that was what Shamapriya was saying about the 4 regulations, but it goes further than that. It goes deeper than that, Pure in eating also. But you can be eating prasadam in the wrong consciousness. Is that pure eating? You see, we can take things, like in a way that how we apply this, like as we are making progress in Krishna consciousness. I can remember in the beginning when we first joined, we were told that for the first 6 months, you can just eat as much as you like, just go for it, until you're, prashant is just coming out of your ears. I remember that the devotees were like, I remember when I first joined, it was a regular thing on the Sunday that I had a friend of mine, he was lying on the floor after eating like a tray of burfis, and he was like, oh, Krishna, 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 in pain, so much pain of eating so much. So it was every Sunday, every Sunday we have this. So is that pure eating? For someone who just comes, yes, but maybe not for us after, being in the movement 10 or 20 or 15 years or whatever. So pure of eating means like, eating prasadam at the right times in a regulated way, offering the best to Krishna, not offering just like cook, grains by non-devotees, cookies. Is that pure cooking, pure eating? Okay, so eating, sleeping. How are we pure in sleeping? Some Chatura.
That means we don't eat too much at night before the sunset, and then we sleep early and get up early. And we before go to bed, we can read Srimad-Bhagavatam
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? How we can purify our sleeping?
Not sleeping on a very comfortable bed.
Who said that?
Me, Prabhu.
I'm lost. Patita Tarana, Prabhu?
Aditya Tata, yes.
No sleeping in a very comfortable bed.
Yeah.
Yes, you suffer self-punishment, you know? Not really. Not really. You should have good, proper rest. You know, life gives us already enough austerities. You don't have to force yourself even harder, you know? Because, I mean, I slept on the floor for like over a decade, I remember. And at one point, the doctor told me that I needed a mattress, you know? So I got myself a mattress because it was needed for my service. So we should not, you know, like purposefully not take care of our health. So it's not necessary that you have to sleep on the floor, or, you know, it depends. Some people have different health needs, but the main point is what is being mentioned there is that we sleep at the proper times. We get up at the proper times. I mean, getting up at the proper time, that's just like such a crucial thing. We get up before 4. We try to go to bed at the same time. We can read Krishna book before we go to bed, so that we can, you know, the mind, whatever you put into your mind, the last thing at night, it has an impact through your sleep through the day, so through the night. So Prabhupada was very wise, and he told us, read Krishna book every night. Then not sleeping during, you know, not sleeping a lot during the day. You may need a quick nap or something, but not, you know, making it a habit to crash out during the day, you know, or when it's, you know, it's so many things, so many things you can refine your practice of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna Saka Prabhu.
I just want to add that generally our sleeping, we cannot control our sleeping and our dreams. So maybe more important to live in Krishna consciousness during the day. And then how Prabhupada used to say that the quality of our dream will be known by the day activity. So if our day activity was like in Krishna consciousness, then we can see that our dream is like, we can say our spiritual master or some service, even during dreams. So maybe in order to dedicate our sleeping to Krishna, we should dedicate our day life, and then we can see how it goes.
Nice point. Actually, it is a fact that, you know, even Prabhupada was praying to Krishna that please take away my sleep, because he saw sleeping as death, you know. So the way we approach sleep, I'm going a little bit, but I just continue from your point that we should not be like, you know, we should see sleep as just a necessity for maintaining my devotional service. It should not be like an activity that I'm looking forward to because this is the purpose of human life, you know, have a good rest, you know. No, actually, I'm just, and you know, if we are fully absorbed in Krishna conscious activities during the day, then our sleep will be very pure, and that's your point, and that's really valuable. Archana Bhakti, I don't know if you had your hand from before up, or is that from now, or is it from now or from before?
No, from before, Prabhu. So
Okay.
sorry about that.
Okay, so, you know, and then the same applies for the other one. How can we be pure in mating? Through the process of, you know, marriage, you know, religious marriage, Vedic marriage, and Garbhadana Samskar. Prabhupada prescribed how to do that. And then how can we be pure in fearing or in defending? That's the most, how can we do this? Is our friend from Australia, or was it Australia, New Zealand? I forgot his name now. Is he here today?
Janmashtami, Prabhu.
Janmashtami, that's right.
Janmashtami,
He's
Prabhu.
not here, eh? I mean, I don't blame him. It's like really austere to be up until that late for any matter, actually. Anyway, even for this. Okay, Yaje.
I was remembering, like in the scripture, it says there are 6 kinds of different aggressors. We have the right to defend or attack or kill them. That's what I remember.
Okay, nice point. Yeah, nice point. That's in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, Ananda Vardhana Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I remember that Hare Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rakhe ke. Krishna is the only protector. So if someone save us, he will save us. If he wants us to suffer, then we will suffer.
Okay, so that means what? How do we apply that in BP or in defending?
If something happens to us, we don't respond. But if something happens to the devotees, then we naturally respond.
Okay, so if I go and I give you a punch in the face, well, not me, because maybe you, but if some guy comes to you and give you a kick on the butt, you don't do anything. Do you? You're very advanced. Yad Bharat should be your name. Yad Bharat Das. I mean, in one sense, you're right, but it's a bit, that's perhaps acting beyond the level of a realization and maybe not advisable in the current age, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see someone who has not contributed yet. Ramananda Prabhu.
Yes, Guruji, Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Like one glimpse of Saranagati, Avashya Rakhive Krishna Viswasi Palan. Like we should have the firmly faith and conviction that Krishna will definitely protect us.
Yeah, it's the same point that Prabhu mentioned.
Yeah.
And it is a fact that, you know, like the way this propensity of defending, I believe there is at least one place where it says that this is the most difficult thing to give up. You know, it's the toughest one. You know, more difficult than eating, sleeping, and mating. Sometimes we think, oh, this is, but you know, because there is a tendency, the tendency is that we want to, you know, create a quotation mark like safe situation for ourselves, be protected, that my needs are taken care, I am, you know, and I am creating that kind of, you could call it castle or your empire, and you're protecting it, you know. And that's what every living entity in the material world is. And it's very difficult to give up that propensity, that. So therefore, and we do that by way of incense, depending on Krishna and engaging, cultivating devotional service. But so that we don't become overly absorbed in thinking that we're the doers and we're the controllers, and we're the enjoyers. We're not. And as far as we are in that kind of consciousness that we are the controllers, then the tendency will be very prominent. And we can bring it into devotional service, you know. We protect our position, we protect our, you know, whatever, our service in a way which is unhealthy sometimes, rather than giving priority to other devotees when it's needed. Okay, so those are some thoughts. So is
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yeah.
Guruji, regarding defending, I have a small doubt.
Okay.
Yes, Guruji. Like as we all of you know that Krishna is the ultimate protector. So like in a practical life, like if somebody is coming to kill us, so like definitely practically, first of all, we should protect ourselves. But at what extent we should protect ourselves, and at what extent we should surrender to Krishna only, or Krishna will be ultimate protector, he will save us. So like,
yeah. So that who was the one that said before, I was he Ananda Vardhana Prabhu? Okay. So you know, you can answer to him. We just okay, yeah, Krishna, Rake Krishna Mareke. Actually, there is a nice story I heard from Dhanadhar Maharaj about one devotee in New York. He was a taxi driver. And I believe he had a shot on the windshield of the taxi, you know. And he says some guy came with a gun, you know, to threat him or something. And he quoted that verse. He said, "If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you." And you know, the guy, he got away with it. There was another, you know, he had that kind of faith. You know, he was fearless, even in the face of that kind of you know, threatening situation. And I don't remember the details, but maybe the guy just shot the windshield, didn't. And there was another pastime. I don't know if that's with Manidhar Prabhu, the famous book distributor from Germany. I mean, I don't know if from Germany or from Poland. Anyway, European, very, very famous book distributor. I don't know if it was him, but also he was distributing books. And this guy pulled out a gun, you know, to him. And with his fingers, he put his fingers on the cannon of the gun, you know, and he just smiled at him. And this guy, he said, "You're crazy," you know. He didn't shoot him, but he had that kind of faith, right? So I wouldn't advise that that's the kind of response that we should do every time, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you have that's like exemplary and wonderful, right? But I think it was Manidhar Prabhu. I'm not sure. I think it was Manidhar. But the point being made here is that to what degree, well, to the degree, I remember Radhana Swami tells a story. He was in Varshana and there was a famous sadhu there. And this sadhu was sleeping at night with a stick next to his, you know, bed. And Radhana Swami asked him, and he said, "What is the stick for?" He said, "Well, I heard there is a leopard running around." And he said, "Well, what is the stick gonna do for you if there is a leopard running around?" Radhana Maharaj asked, and he said, "Well, you know, I have to show to Krishna that I am doing everything I can to protect myself, you know." So I think that answers the question, you know, that yeah, we depend on Krishna. There's a famous saying by a Christian monk, I think it was Thomas Merton, and he said that we should pray to Krishna like everything depends on him, and we should work like everything depends on us. So, you know, the devotee doesn't mean that we just like, yeah, it's all Krishna's mercy, you know, let it be, you know. No, we have to be smart. We have to, you know, work. Like I remember also one time, I wish I will get the words right because this is important and it should be very precise, but Giriraj Swami was asking Prabhupada about, you know, how will the movement continue? You know, or Prabhupada asked him anyway, and Prabhupada asked him back. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it or heard it. But then Giriraj Swami, he said, like, well, if we are sincere, you know, Prabhupada, everything will go on. And Prabhupada said, no. He said, organization and intelligence. Yeah. But Prabhupada was very practical, you know. So some food for thought. Is that okay, Ramananda Prabhu?
Yes, Guruji, regarding the example of the Draupadi Vastarhana Lila, we can see that, like, first of all, she tried at most extent herself to defend herself, but finally she completely surrendered to Krishna. Actually.
Yeah, we realized, what can I do? It's like Draupadi when she was being derobed, you know. I mean, that example, in one sense, is illustrating the principle of just full surrender, right? Because he was hanging on to the sari, oh Govinda, oh Govinda, oh Govinda, but Krishna wanted a full surrender there, you know, and then she dropped it. But I find that in my personal experience that a lot of the time when we do fully surrender to the situation, we become a lot more proactive. And it's only when we are hanging on that, you know, that we are not ready to do the needful, you know. Surrender means to do the needful also. Did that make sense or not?
Yes, Rudy.
Yeah. Okay, Archana Bhakti, one more point.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So can understand it like we should be purity in fear means that we should be afraid of not committing offenses and not committing sinful activities since we are surrendered to Krishna, because every time we can't expect him to keep on forgiving us and finishing our sins and go on committing
Nice.
sins.
Thank you for
So
that point. Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, we are analyzing one simple point and from so many different angles, you know, and then we can see how we can implement this in different ways.
And
yeah.
Prabhupada also said that we are not, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Prabhupada said that we are not adequately afraid of Maya. Yes,
very nice. Prabhupada said that my devotees are not sufficiently afraid of Maya. And in another instances, I don't know if this was directly from Prabhupada or how, but basically the point is there that the devotee is only afraid of one thing. What is that? Vaishnava Parad. We should be afraid of that because that will take away our Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So we're going to have a little break now. It's 3:25, so we'll begin with chapter 4 in 10 minutes. Okay. So 10 minutes from now, whatever your clocks are saying, 10 minutes from now. Thank you. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So we're continuing with chapter 4 from first canto Srimad-Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami has just informed the sages that he was there and he heard it. He heard the Srimad-Bhagavatam directly from the lips of Sukadeva Goswami. Not only he heard it, but he realized it. And that's the connection. The last verse of that chapter is a connection with chapter 4, which will begin with Vyasa speaking. He said, on hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Shonaka Muni, who was the elderly learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Okay, so this chapter is entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Sri Narada will come right at the end of the chapter, will appear right at the end. Overview. First verse, 13 verses, we're going to hear the questions of Shaunaka Rishi to Sutta Goswami. And we're going to see that these questions are divided into 3 major topics. And then we're going to hear about Srila Vyasadev's edition of the Vedas and how after compiling the after compiling the Vedic literature, Srila Vyasadev, he felt dissatisfied. And as he was feeling despondent, his guru, Narada Muni, appeared and gave him instructions. And that leads to chapter 5, which is Narada's instructions to Vyasadeva. Okay, so we're in text number 1. Okay, before let's go to the verse, actually. So what are the qualifications? What are the qualifications of a let me just share the screen. Okay. text 4. Yeah. So here it is. Okay, before we go into that, actually. Oh no, we can just go into this. It says that Vyasadeva said that on hearing Sutta Goswami speak, that Shonaka Muni was selected as the, as the representative of all the sages. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains this. This is about etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette. So who should be chosen when there is a reception and when there is a, someone needs to speak and we need to choose a speaker for a particular, event? Who should be given the preference? What are the qualifications needed according to this verse? It should be as follows. Prabhupada writes: he must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned. So these are the qualifications. So, like, and we have this is a recurrent situation. You have you invite someone to give a talk at your house or at your wedding or at your, some ceremony that you're doing. So the person who is going to address the speaker should be the leader of the house, should be elderly, and should be vastly learned. Simple. Now, this is a very, very famous purport, very, very important purport, and we're gonna look into it right now. Just gonna put it on the screen. Very important, and it is the meaning of realization. Okay. Okay, here it is. Let me just see. I don't know when this is. Okay, never mind. The questions of Shonaka Rishi that comes in this section to Sutta Goswami, they are divided in three main blocks, as I was saying. One of them is questions in regards to Vyasadeva and how Vyasadeva, he got the inspiration to compile the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The second ones are in regards to Shukadeva Goswami, who was a monist, and how did he actually, came to learn the Bhagavatam and to speak it. And then the questions in relationship to Parikshit Maharaj and how he was enthroned, how he gave up his kingdom to sit down by the bank of the Ganges and hear Srimad-Bhagavatam. So these are the three main, the questions are in regards to these three personalities, okay? Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami, and Parikshit Maharaj. Now, text number 1. One second, I cannot find the purport. Okay, here it is. So this is the meaning of personal realization. It's a very powerful purpose. Someone would like to read? Someone who has not contributed yet, maybe, can read this.
Personal realization does not.
Contributed already. Let's hear from someone who has not spoken yet.
Hare Krishna, Bhai. Can I read it, please?
Vijay Jambavati.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay.
Personal realization does not mean that one should out of vanity attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time he must realize the subject matter too nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner.
This is the meaning of personal realization. Okay. So, okay, there is more to it actually. One second. Someone else continue.
Can I?
Yeah.
The original purpose of the the original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.4.1.
Okay, so what is the meaning of realization? Can someone explain? It's very important, right? We want to become. We want to get realizations, right? That's actually the way they're pricing. I mean, it's like the most valuable thing. The deeper the realization, so valuable, yeah. So Prabhupada is describing here spiritual realization. So what is the gist of what Prabhupada is saying?
Sorry.
Have full confidence in previous acharya and have experienced the knowledge mentioned in the book himself.
Say again? The last part, the second part.
The second part is the person should have experienced the knowledge in the book himself, kind of like a personal experience rather than intellectual understanding.
Okay, there is more to it than that. Let's see, Lina Manohar Prabhu. Thank you for that.
Hare Krishna. What I understand from this purport is Prabhupada wants that we should follow the previous acharya in terms of the essence. However, in terms of the presentation, we have to keep the audience in mind, their age or whatever the ethnicity, age and other circumstances, time, place, circumstances. We have to present it in such an interesting manner that it attracts the audience without diluting the essence.
Paka, very nice. Thank you, Lila Manohar Prabhu. This is, when someone has actually realized the knowledge deeply, then the thing is that the symptom of that is that he can present it in a way which is suitable for the audience. Because when one has actually realization of a particular topic, he has understood the essence of that, and he is able to present it according to time, place, and circumstances. You may change the box. You may change. According to the person you're gonna give the gift. You may put the colors of the box in, or the ornaments in. According to the person you want to give the gift, but the content remains intact. Right? And what else? What more? There is more in there, but this is the essence, basically. The realization means that you are able to present it in a way which is suitable for the audience, without trying to surpass the previous acharya, and having full faith in what the previous acharya said is correct. Not that we begin to doubt, well, maybe that's not really the way it should be or something. No, full faith. And Prabhupada one time, I believe in Vrindavan, he was saying, he was like talking to himself. I think some of the words were there, and he was saying like, why was I the chosen one? Why was I the chosen one? Why was I the chosen one? Because, Prabhupada, I mean, from an external perspective, you could say that so many of his god brothers, they appear to be more learned than him. They were sannyasis through their whole lives. They were great scholars. Prabhupada had been a grihasta, a businessman. He had, run his. He was not like what we call these days like a full-time devotee in the sense. He was like outside. He was helping the mission. I mean, in certain ways we can see it like that, but so Prabhupada was saying, why was I the chosen one? Why was I the chosen one? And then he answered and says, yeah, because I have full faith in the words of my spiritual master. I have full faith, That was his qualification. Of course, we know Prabhupada was a great scholar and he's an eternally liberated soul. And everything he was, what happened was just like part of his, was meant to happen. But that faith is what gave him that empowerment. And along with that faith, he had the ability to present the most elevated topics in a way which is understood by the lowest kind of people. Who were the people who began to come to Prabhupada's meetings in New York? Who were they? Were they like, you know, highly sophisticated yogis or sattva guna people? Ah, they were druggists, acid heads, sex mongers, hippies. But Prabhupada was able to actually explain to them the science of devotional service in a way that they were able to understand it. And in fact, Prabhupada's books are an expression of that he is presenting us the topmost topics in a way which anyone can understand. I remember, you know, when I was distributing books, that sometimes you go for long periods of time without selling a book, and it can become really like tough and you know, difficult for the mind, you know. And I would just kind of pull out a book from my book bag and I just open it randomly, any page, you know, and I will just read a paragraph, and I will be like, wow, you know, this is so powerful, you know. Just any place you pick up one of Prabhupada's books is so powerful. And I will get so much kind of inspiration to keep going, you know, because I'm thinking, you know, anyone who actually gets the book and opens, it's like his whole life can be transformed just by reading 1 or 2 lines of these books. They're so powerful. So that was the degree of, you know, that was the depth of Prabhupada's realization. There's one more point in this definition. I haven't touched upon it yet. You know what other point is mentioned there? Anyone remembers?
Probably, is it that he can present the matter in a suitable manner?
Well, I just focus on that, Charulata Mataji. I just was talking on that. So something I have not discussed.
So, can I go? Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. We should not interpret it in you know, according to our own whims and our own you know, presentation. It should be directly coming from acharyas, and we should stick to it.
So what can be an example of this? This is the point. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. No obscure meaning. Not that we use Prabhupada's words to support some, you know, particular agenda or some particular idea that I want to present, that I interpret. Prabhupada said that also, you know, that no, I take no credit. He says, my only credit, if there is one credit that I can take, is that I have just presented the message as it is. I haven't added anything. I haven't subtracted anything. That's the only credit. Yeah? So adding mean, you know, getting screwing out some hidden meaning, you know, or thinking that we are smarter than the previous acharya, that we know better. So these things are all detrimental. Okay, clear? Very powerful, very powerful, and we have seen this in you know, this is something that it's a very nice meditation. Just remember this purport is Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 1. You know, and go back and read this purport on a regular basis, so it kind of goes deep into our consciousness, because it's so important to actually being able to be loyal to the principles that Prabhupada is explaining in this purport, you know, and we should become very, you know, innovative, create innovative ways to preach Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, never trying to surpass the previous acharya, like, you know, or correct him, or, you know, it's just not the etiquette. It's not what is being taught and exemplified by all our previous acharyas, So we should be very careful. And at the same time, as I said, trying to find something, or, like sometimes the speaker may try to be a little bit kind of too smart and try to kind of find out some extra purport to something that is being said, but you hear and say, well, actually it's not there in the teachings, this is not Prabhupada's, I didn't hear that before. That I mean, for myself, because I have been doing this service for quite a number of years now, actually teaching, and I'm very careful that I don't say anything that is not kind of, being said before in one sense, It's just like I believe Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, he said, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism, it means that you are using someone else's work, He said plagiarism means parampara, because we're just repeating what previous teachers have said, and we're safe, We may add our own realization, that's okay. We may expand upon it, but don't try to find, something new, this to show how smart we are. Careful, be careful. You can do it. I'm not saying you can't, but be careful, because then you are in a dangerous zone, and that's the risk of what Prabhupada is saying there. Screw out some hidden meaning, Just stick to what is being said,
Prabhu, can I ask a question, Prabhu?
Who is that? You can.
Patita Tarana.
Patita Tarana. Okay, go ahead. Okay,
regarding your saying about taking out the meaning, what do you think about this Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahatmya? In Mahatmya it says that, that first you've spoken by Lord Shiva and heard by the parrot, and the parrot went into that womb of wife of Vyasa, and that kind of Mahatmya. So do you think that is more into concocted idea, which is not relevant with Bhagavatam?
Say again, what was the? I didn't hear the question.
The Mahatmya, the Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahatmya.
The question. What is the question? The actual question.
No, say like example, one of the story says that Lord Shiva was.
I know the story. What is the question? Go for the question. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Is it is more into like mental concoction? That means because it's not written in Bhagavatam, such thing is not mentioned elsewhere. But this particular book comes out and give this kind of opinion, says that the first speaker was Lord Shiva and all this. So what do you think about this, Prabhu? Is it something that has been screwed out from the contents? Can we understand that way? Or can we encourage such Mahatmya to be like distributed out? So that was my concept.
Good question. So, okay, so how will I approach this? Is like this. It's like, as I was saying before, we go according to our previous teachers and what they say and what they teach and what books they use, So I believe His Holiness Gaur Govinda Swami will tell that story. I believe, So, he's a, exalted person. Is a Bhagavat, is a Bhagavat, right? So then we can, just by the caliber of the person, we can decide if the content of what's been said is, we want to hear it or not. I personally want to hear from such an elevated soul. So, but then there is it's kind of, you're putting me on the spot, as they say here, because it's also a personal choice, like, did Prabhupada tell the story or not, So that's also a criteria, So it just depends on your own depends on where you have put your faith on, but that I wouldn't say that falls onto the category of screwing some hidden meaning out. Okay, if that's the original question, screwing some hidden meaning out is that we concoct. Okay, that's what it means. And one example could be, for example, that you know, what happened in New Vrindavan in the early days, that one of the leaders there, that he was, you know, he started to kind of, you know, the devotees were being dressed in robes like Catholic priests, and the prayers were being done in English, and there was a lot of kind of speculation and concoction with the intention to actually preach Krishna consciousness, but the end result was that the initial purpose was lost, you know. So that could be, you know, screwing a hidden meaning means that you concoct something. Prabhupada has said something, or the previous acharya has said something, and you interpret that in your own way, which is not in line with the previous teachings. And I said, well, actually, this is what it means, but that's what it means. Now, what you're referring to, should we use a particular, you know, should we quote a particular scripture, a particular text, a particular, and then that's what I was bringing in. It just depends on, you know, who is quoting that scripture, you know, and what is your relationship with that person. So if your Guru Maharaj is doing that, and you have any doubts, you can always ask him, but that's a different thing. It's not, it doesn't fall in the same category. Is that clear? Yeah. You know,
Yes, Prabhu.
some hidden meaning, it means you concoct. You know, like, and then you deviate from what, and sometimes it's difficult, because this is a whole discussion. We could be the whole class on this topic, because, you know, but we won't. But the idea is that, you know, Prabhupada said that you can adjust the principle, you can adjust the details, but you cannot adjust the principle, right? So sometimes it's very difficult to understand what is the difference between a principle and a detail. You know, Prabhupada himself, he adjusted principles. In one sense, he was that kind of personality. He was empowered to do that, and establish certain principles that we must abide by, because he's our founder acharya. So we may be able to adjust details, but we have to be careful that we don't, you know, adjust the principles. If that makes sense.
Yes, Prabhu.
So therefore, we should never think that we know better than Prabhupada how to do things.
Yeah.
Prabhupada established 16 rounds, 4 regulative principles. Well, you know, I mean, who can follow the 4th reg? It's too difficult, you know, come on, you gotta give some chance to the people, you know, just make it 3 regs and you'll see how the movement expands like fire, you know. That will be a concoction. That will be, you know, adjusting. That will be not following the previous acharya. Oh, you know, Prabhupada, it was in the 60s. It's a different time now, you know. You know, I mean, come on, we gotta make it different. There is a validity sometimes that one may say, well, if Prabhupada will be here now, he certainly will adjust certain things, you know, but what he will do, we don't really know. And that's why there is a GBC there to kind of come together. We have, for example, the topic of the female Diksha Guru now. It's a hot topic, and it's so hard to come into a conclusion. Different devotees, they have different perspectives on the same thing. Some people consider that to allow to only have, you know, male Diksha Gurus is a principle that cannot be broken. Some people feel that this is just a detail. Any woman, man and woman could be, you know. So, and there's a constant struggle there between the different people supporting the different ideas, right? So then you'll find there is certain things that are, as I say, it's just difficult, and it's taking a lot of time and a lot of thought, and that's why that is taking so long. So it's a big topic, yeah. But then some people will maybe use some quote or something say some historical thing that happened to support or to go against that, idea, because I want that, this is the decision that needs to be taken. And then I start to quote Prabhupada and say, well, this is what because Prabhupada says like this, it means like they should not be gurus or they should be gurus. It just goes on like this, Am I making sense? Is it clear? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna move on. Time is flying as usual. And let's see in the chat box, we have something. Yeah. Yeah, so that story about the Shukadeva Goswami, I mean, we could make some, you could take it on board and make some research about where the story coming from and who is quoting it. And I mean, I actually have it here somehow. I'll look into it and I'll bring it up next time, next class. Okay, so we're continuing. Text. Okay, so now the meaning of realization and who should be, what are the qualifications of the speaker? We need to share the screen again. Shonaka said, O Sutta Goswami, you're the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadeva Goswami. In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? So the sages are wondering, Vyasadeva had written so many books already. Why did he take the trouble to write Srimad-Bhagavatam? Now, Shukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva's son, was a great devotee and an equivalence monist, whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Okay, Shukadeva Goswami. And we will hear about this, how he was, like wandering like a mendicant, and actually as he was arriving at the gathering of the sages with Parikshit Maharaj, many children and people from the town, they were chasing him and they were mocking him and they were even throwing things at him. Now, while Shri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Shri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at men, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. So here explains, that, at that time when Vyasadeva was following his son, they passed by a lake and there were some ladies there naked bathing. And when Vyasadeva, when Sukadeva Goswami passed, they didn't cover themselves. It's just like, when a children walks into the room, even if the ladies are naked, or they don't bother, because the children is innocent, and the kid, the baby is innocent, and it doesn't make distinctions. It's not, looking at them with the intention to try to enjoy them or something like this. But when Vyasadeva walked past, they covered themselves. Because Vyasadeva was playing the role of Grihastha, and he had to make such distinctions. So it's a very, you know, kind of interesting point that that this and the purport. There is many points in the purport. Just 1 second. Okay. Yes, I need to attend to that. So yeah. So the qualification, and going back to the point in the purport, the qualification of a self-realized person is that he doesn't make distinctions between male and female. He's seeing the soul. And this is the qualification of a sannyasi. To enter the sannyas ashram, one must be beyond that, you know, that making that kind of distinction, so that one is attracted to the opposite sex. He should see that everyone is like a soul. So therefore, you know, I remember one of my friends, he's now in the sannyas list, and he was telling me that he was in one of the sannyas training, and the first sannyasi that came to the first thing he said is, when you come into the temple, your mind tends to go into looking at any woman in the temple. He said, you should just leave the room immediately. You're not qualified. You know, should leave. If your mind is still wandering in that direction, you're not qualified for sannyas. That's a quite sobering kind of thought, right? So this is the whole world is running under the illusion of being female and male and the mutual attraction that goes within them. But actually, a self-realized soul, he sees that there is only one male, and that's Krishna, Purusha, and we are all female. We are all Prakriti. We're all to be enjoyed by the Lord. That's the consciousness of a self-realized soul, and you know, falling into the consciousness of being the Purusha, you know, then we're no longer self-realized. Means we understand we're servants, and we understand also how everybody is also a servant of the Lord. They may not have realized it, but they are. So therefore, Sukadeva Goswami was on that platform right from the beginning of his birth. He made no distinctions, and therefore the ladies didn't. And also another very important point here is that the ladies, that Sukadeva Goswami didn't need to advertise himself. The ladies could see it, could acknowledge, you know, his consciousness. And so I would say he was innocent, he was pure. Okay, let's share the screen again. So I'm going to read for the last part of the purport. It says, at least theoretically, well, okay, I'll just to confirm what I said, okay? As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Shukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex, and thus keep one entangled in material existence. This is the glue that keeps us bound to material existence, is this attraction for the opposite sex. And to the degree that we're affected by that, to the degree that we are bound by material nature. this is something that we have to give up. If we want to come to the platform of pure Krishna consciousness, it has to be given up. And most conditioned souls don't want to give it up. So a liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. As I said, the perverted distinction is, I am the Purusha and she is the Prakriti. Because we look at the opposite sex and the tendency is to, see them as an object of our enjoyment. We make is such a kind of degraded, dirty type of consciousness, which is so contrary to what goes on in the spiritual world. And as far as we maintain that type of consciousness of wanting to enjoy the material, the opposite sex, then we will never be able to enter into Krishna's pastimes, Radha Krishna's pastimes, because we will see them from that perspective. We'll see Krishna and Radha, and we'll project our own, enjoying mentality into that pure relationship. So we won't be able to attain that. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Text for 6. How was he? Now the questions are coming here. Okay, how was he? I mean, they're continuing. The questions are coming. We're continuing with the questions. These are all questions by Shonakarishi to Sutta Goswami, and the answers to these questions, as I mentioned, this is the rest of the first canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The answers to this is the whole first canto. How was he, Srila Shukadeva, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? And as I was mentioning before, he was just looking like a crazy fellow. He was naked. He was not properly, he just looked like a crazy fellow. And then therefore, people were taking advantage of him, and they were like, following him. But the point is that when he arrived, they were chasing him, and then he arrived at the gathering of the sages, and then the sages, even by just understanding his physiognomy, they understood that he was a Paramahansa. There was a very elevated soul, and they offered him the Vyasa-san. And as soon as those people who were chasing him and ridiculing him saw that, they understood that he was like a sadhu, like a very special person. So the sadhus could recognize him. And this is another point that is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction by Srila Prabhupada. And we should be very, very careful, that he said, Prabhupada writes that it takes a sadhu, it takes a devotee to recognize a devotee. So sometimes we may not be able to see, by looking at the externals, we may not be able to see. Now, but Prabhupada gives us a hint of, if we're not able to see, because we're not sufficiently developed as the sadhus in the place of the Ganges with Parikshit Maharaj, just by seeing him, they could recognize him. But Prabhupada explains in this purpose, a sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see, but to hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Sukadeva Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. It's again the same point that was mentioned in the previous verse. He never attempted jugglery like a magician. He just, presented the activities of the Lord. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated transcendental personality. Text 7. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas to be sung to him? So this is all gonna, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. What is it? Contribution, how do I cancel this now? Okay. Text 8. He, Sukadeva Goswami, was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked, and he did this just to sanctify the residence. Very important points also expressing this purport. You know what the principal points of this verse are? Can you guess? It's in regards to association, right? He was only long enough for a cow to be milked. How long does it take to milk a cow? 20 minutes? Something like this. So he was not long enough for, and why? Why was that? Because it's so dangerous to associate with materialistic people. And this point cannot be emphasized enough. That, we should be very heavy warnings about associating with materialistic people. And Prabhupada says that the purpose of a preacher in coming in touch with the materialists should be only to come and preach to them. That's it, nothing else. Because we can get contaminated. Prabhupada, he told Satsvarup Das Goswami at his sannyas initiation, he warned him. He said that, whenever you go to some householder home and to preach or to collect or whatever, he says, never think that, if I wouldn't have taken sannyas, I could enjoy these things. Like sometimes as devotees, we may come in touch with materialistic people who have some opulence and some material wealth, and we may become enamored. And we may think, wow, I wish I could have that nice house. Look at that wonderful, car they're driving every day home, and, like beautiful wife and nice children, and we should never, and that's the danger, that we may develop faith again in, developing a materialistic way of living. So Prabhupada, on one time, I don't know, I think it was in Mumbai, and he had a group of devotees, and there was one of the life members who had been given donations, and Prabhupada was invited to stay with them for a few days, and he took a group of devotees with them. So they went, they had prasadam, they fed them, and they went to bed. And the morning after, Prabhupada, it was like 5 o'clock or something, or 4:30. And Prabhupada, I think it was also, maybe it was Giriraj Swami, I don't remember who he was, but Prabhupada asked his secretary, maybe it was Sasparup Maharaj also. And he said, what is this? Can you hear? And the devotee said, I cannot hear anything, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, exactly. everybody was sleeping. It was already Mangalarti time and everybody was sleeping. And he said, you go around everybody and tell them to pack our bags. We are getting out of here in 1 hour. And he says, Prabhupada, what are we going to tell the host? We came here to cultivate relationships. And Prabhupada said, never mind that. If after one night the devotees are not getting up for Mangalarti, never mind if we stay here any longer. Let's go. And they did. And later on, those life members, they came to the temple. It was nicely done. They were not offended. But how serious he was about this. So we should be very careful about associating with non-devotees. And this is the heavy warnings that Prabhupada is giving us in this purpose. And it's particularly referent to those who are in the renounced order of life. Particularly those, because they are, in one sense, in one sense, it's more of a risk, it's risking for everybody, for that matter, but like the householder it has that kind of, fortress in his wife, but the renunciant is, and that's why one thing that they say that the guru should maybe, it's good to have gurus who are actually grihastas, because it is easier for them to be able to preach to the ladies, to preach to the householders, they are in a more, you could say, protected situation to enter into that kind of environment. But anyway, the case applicable for us also is that we should limit our, association with materialistic people. We should be very careful, very careful. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna share now my PowerPoint. Oops.
Prabhu,
yeah,
I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
So we don't associate with the materials for so much time. And what about we invite them to our house and preach to them?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, is this okay?
It is not okay. It's essential that we do that. It is essential that we do that. You see the point, okay, this is a big topic, and you're going to study this. You study this in great depth in Nectar of Instruction, right? In the course about, jhana sanghas and giving also the giving up the association of non-devotees. So the point is that if we don't come in touch with the materialists, who is going to preach to them? But the point is that it's about taking their association or giving our association. When you are inviting home to these people, you are giving them your association. And I thought a lot about this actually myself, that sometimes in one sense we are a little bit kind of too much in a kind of bubble, and we don't want, we look at the materialists like some kind of virus that is going to watch out. If I come too close, I'm going to get infected, But I don't think that that's what Prabhupada means. What it means is that it's not that we can be kind to them, we can be friendly, we can befriend them, we can like show them that we are normal people, and that we are actually nice people. This is all part of giving them our association and preaching. People are more interested in who we are than in what we preach, our message. Like Ralph, I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson, he said, what you are speaks so loud that I cannot hear what you're saying. So our behavior is even more important than our preaching to some extent. So if we are acting in a way that people feel that we are rejecting them, that we don't want to have anything to do with them, and it's also not nice, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the tendency to look to the outside people, but most of the time, these people are just like us, like we were before we became devotees. The only difference between them and us is that we got the mercy. So it is not that we are any better, you know, we are just the same. We just got the mercy of Prabhupada, so we can endeavor to give them our mercy, and not our mercy, given the same mercy that we receive, basically. You know, so the spirit should be there that, yeah, we want to be. I mean, I am here now, it's the marathon, Krishna's marathon, and I'm like, you know, I'm grateful to you that I have the opportunity to at least speak on the Bhagavatam, because, you know, December for me, for many years, it meant to be in the streets, just, you know, distributing Prabhupada's books and sharing this message with the people. Spend the whole day out, and you, by the end of the day, you're talking about pure sleep. You know, you remember coming back, falling asleep before my head will hit the pillow. You know, like paying obeisances, so exhausted from. But this is desirable. You know, I spend the whole day just with karmis. Doing what? Preaching. We should not take that association. It's not that I am out in the streets and I see a nice couple and they're having a good time and they're going into the shopping mall, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here distributing Prabhupada's books in the cold? I could just be like one of them. I could just go and have a cup of hot chocolate and look at my girlfriend's, beautiful eyes and, whatever, your mind can just take on this is what he said, that we should be careful, so that you don't get caught. And therefore, that's why it's very, very important that if we do these type of activities that you're describing, you never do them alone. If you're going to invite people to your home, make sure that you're not alone with them. Okay. If you're going to do a preaching program, don't be alone. If you're going to go to your family, to your relatives, don't go alone. Always have a devotee with you. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the screen. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So we are on the, just wanted to do a quick, what is it? Excuse. So this is just a quick summary of excuse me, of what's coming with the questions, and when the questions are answered, we're just reading the questions now. So these are where the questions are answered. Sorry, there. So as I said, there is 3, you could say, anyway, okay, we can put 4, but really is 3, we're talking about 3 personalities. So the questions is in relationship to, you can see my screen now or no? Yeah, can see the PowerPoint? Can
yes,
you?
we can see.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes, yes.
So then you have there that in relationship to Vyasadev's background for compiling Srimad-Bhagavatam, this is actually this unit. We're covering chapters 4 to 7. No, not the full chapter 7, just the beginning verses up until text. Well, up until text 11, really. That's including Shukadeva Goswami also, which is reasons for Shukadeva to study the Bhagavatam. We'll hear that at the beginning of chapter 7, like this Atmarama verse and a few verses before that. And Vyasadeva will receive the, we want to hear about him in this chapter, division of the Vedas. He becomes despondent. And after he becomes despondent, Narada Muni comes, he preaches to him, he chastises him, and he instructs him to actually sit down and meditate on the presence of the Lord and write a literature which is focusing strictly and, you know, in a giving total attention to the presence of the Lord, presence, names, qualities, activities of the Lord. And after Narada Muni leaves, then Vyasadeva sits down in meditation, and that takes place at the beginning of chapter 7. And then we hear also at the beginning of chapter 7 about the reasons for, you know, Sukadeva to study the Bhagavatam. Then in regards to Parikshit Maharaj's birth, reign, and renunciation, chapters 12, you could say chapter 13, 14, 15 is also connected, but basically, you know, dealing strictly with Parikshit Maharaj, chapter 12, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then, you know, 13, 14, 15 are related because these are the things that need to happen for Maharaj Parikshit to be enthroned. So chapter 12, we hear about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, and then we hear about all the events that took place leading towards Parikshit Maharaj being made king. And then chapters 18 and 19, well, chapter 19 is the meeting of Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. Okay, so that's the summary of the first canto, and it's all answering the questions of Shonaka Rishi that we just reading at the moment. It's very nice, actually. It's so nice when I remember when studying the first canto like this and understand the sequence of the chapters. Everything is there, leading to the next step, to the next stage, you know. And like, you know, Dhritarashtra quits home. And why, you know, why is that important? Yeah, then because then and then that is followed by the Pandavas leaving home. And unless the Pandavas leave home, Parikshit will not be enthroned. And unless Parikshit will not be enthroned, he will not be cursed. And unless he's not cursed, then the Bhagavatam won't be spoken. So it's all, everything is, you know, all historical events leading towards the appearance of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Okay. Okay, text 9. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So this is going to be described, as I said, chapters 12 onwards in the first canto. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulence of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? It's a very interesting question because Parikshit Maharaj, everything was like, everything was auspicious in his kingdom. He was powerful, you know, different kings, they were willingly surrendering unto him. It's not that he was like stressed out and he won't, you know, there was problems in the kingdom and he said, you know, no, everything was prosperous. Why did he give up everything to sit down in the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? These are the questions by the sages. They are interested. They want to know. It's astonishing. You can imagine the most powerful person. Imagine, I don't know who is the richest man on the planet now, whoever he is. And all of a sudden we hear that this person is just renouncing everything and is going to the, you know, the Hare Krishna temple and is sitting down to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam, or he's going, you know, or whatever, he's going to the church, or he's giving up everything just to focus on God, you know. Wow, why will he do that, right? He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Sri Prabhupada writes, there was nothing undesirable in his life. So the sages want to know about this. Now, those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of God that live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was the shelter for others? So even if he was not attached to his wealth, he has a duty. he had a duty, he had a responsibility, he was accountable for his citizens, they were depending on him. Why will he give up everything and just give all his, beauties and retire to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam? It's very wonderful purport, but we're just gonna move ahead. But I'm just gonna read one sentence, Ali, because it's very good. It says that a devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualifications. It's just all the whole purport is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj, and it's wonderful also because here we hear, the qualities of a leader actually. So please read the purport on your own. Don't forget to do that. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Oh, wait a minute. That's an important point there. Here, it says that Prabhupada explains the difference between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajakaas. And Prabhupada makes a very important point at the end of the purport. He says that Srila Sukadeva Goswami is following his footsteps, okay, of Sukadeva Goswami, and therefore his position is not the least less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Okay, in other words, the main thing is our understanding of the scriptures. It's not that we can do some fire yagyas and oms in swaha and all this colorful and recite mantras very nicely. But the important point is to actually be able to live according to those teachings. There are people out there who can recite the whole Bhagavad Gita, every verse, but they are not living according to the Bhagavad Gita. So realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Text 14. Sutta Goswami said, now we begin to answer the questions in relationship to Vyas. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashara in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Sarasvati and sat alone to concentrate. So this is at Badarikashram. The place is indicated as Samyaparash. Actually, I have pictures of this place. Let's show you the pictures. Can you see the screen now? Yeah. So that's Vyasadev's cave at Badrinath. Anyone have been there? Any of you?
Yes, Prabhuji, I've seen this. I've been here.
Nice. How was it?
Wonderful, Prabhuji. Very nice. Just the end of the country, actually. Just the end of India around this place.
Can you go inside the cave?
No, Prabhuji, we just saw it from outside.
Outside.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can go inside. They allow us to go.
Oh, yeah? And
Yes,
what is that inside?
It's a very small place where you can where Vyasadeva sat, and there's some deities. That's it. It's a very small one, Prabhu.
Nice.
Now outside there is a sitting place is there. Just coming out of that cave, we can sit and recite the verses and all these things. There is a place there.
Nice. Okay.
He also comes out in one place.
Okay, next. Text 16. The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unseen force of time. So by his spiritual purity, he was able to foresee what was coming. You know, as one is purified and is more in the platform of goodness, he can see things and he could perceive that there will be degradation. So the great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of the age. He could also see that the faithless people in general will be reduced in duration of life and will be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus, he contemplated for the welfare of men in all statuses and orders of life. So this is again, we're going into the symptoms of the Kali Yuga age, and Prabhupada is explaining how even the material things, they also deteriorate by the influence of Kali Yuga, and like the necessities of life, the duration of life, the memory is shorter, intelligence is meager. So because Vyasadeva could see this, then he was concerned about how to help the people. And Prabhupada makes a very important point in the purport about who are the greatest transcendentalists. Sorry, the greatest philanthropists, which are actually the greatest the transcendentalists, who represent the nation of Vyas, Narada, Madhva, Chaitanya, Rupa. The greatest welfare work is that of actually preaching Krishna consciousness and bringing the souls back home, back to Godhead. And the symptom, I mentioned this in the previous unit, that the symptom of a sage is that he is actually concerned for the welfare and the suffering of the living entities in the material world. That development of compassion is basically the symptom of a sage. He saw that the sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into 4 in order to expanding among men. So now we're coming into, what Vyasadeva did. The Vedas were not actually in writing. The Vedas were like, they've been passed down by through oral reception. And there was just one Veda. But because Vyasadeva understood that people will be less capable of actually understanding spiritual topics, he divided the Veda into 4 divisions, namely the Rig, the Yajur, the Sama, and Atharva. And not only he divided the Vedas, but then he also wrote the Puranas, and he wrote the Puranas, he wrote the Mahabharata. He was really contemplating how to actually help the people of the age by giving them transcendental knowledge. But even after he wrote the Mahabharata and the Puranas, and he edited the Vedas, of course, he didn't write the Vedas, he just put them into writing. That's not his own creation. The Vedas are eternal. They are emanating from the Supreme Lord. They are like revealed knowledge. And all he did, he just put it into writing and he gave it to his disciples. But even after doing that, he still feels dissatisfied, and he wrote the Vedanta Sutra, which is like the essence of the Vedas. And still he was feeling dissatisfied. And then at that point is that when, as he was feeling despondent, then his guru Narada Muni came and he instructed him. So what I want you to do for tomorrow's class, I want you to do various things. Tomorrow is an important class because we're jumping into chapter 5 also. And chapter 5 is very, very essential. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through Vyasadev's qualifications. And more important than that, I want you to find where were all of Vyasadev's causes for being despondent, causes for his dissatisfaction. What were Vyasadev's reasons for his dissatisfaction? Okay. And then we're going to move on also tomorrow into Narada Muni's instructions to Vyasadeva. So please go through those verses, very, very important, very powerful verses. Okay, so I'm just giving you the summary of what's coming. We can continue with the verses. The 4 divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the 5th Veda. After the Vedas were divided into 4 divisions, Pila Rishi became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Sama Veda, and Vaishampayana alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. The Sumanto Muni and Gira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharva Veda, and my father Ramaharshana was entrusted with the Puranas and historical records. All these learned scholars in their turn rendered and entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great grand disciples, and thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so that they may be assimilated by less intellectual men. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this will enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled a great historical narration called the Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. So Prabhupada in the purport speaks about this Dvija Bandhu, Dvija Bandhunam, the friends of the twice born. Very interesting purport. And basically, Dvija Bandhu refers to someone who is born in culture, but he's not culture himself. He's born in a Brahmin family, but he has no Brahminical qualities. So he's friend of the twice born. They are born in culture, but they don't have the qualification themselves. So Prabhupada in the purport speaks about Garbhadana Samskara. We could go into a whole lecture about Garbhadana Samskara and its importance. But it is, at least we should mention that, as devotees, if we are in the Grihastha ashram, which most of us are or may be in the future, this is a contribution to the movement and to our offering to Srila Prabhupada, is to actually beget invite pure souls into this movement, so that the movement expands with powerful souls, with good samskaras. And in order to do that, then we have to perform the Garbhadana Samskar, like a spiritual, Prabhupada called spiritual family planning. And it is a great responsibility for us to do that in the proper way. Create a nice, beautiful, harmonious family environment, so that a nice, great soul, pure soul, may come into our families, and we may assist them in their spiritual progress, and they assist us. We need all the help we can get, so let's invite some nice soul that comes, and it becomes an inspiration. So what happens is when children are properly conceived, through the Garbhadana Samskar, their nature is very clearly defined. Varna Samskara, it means that Varna Sankara, it means that people their nature is all mixed up. They are not in Kali Yuga. This is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, is constant indecision, not knowing what to do, like being pulled in different directions. People, they're very confused about who they are, what is their nature, what they should do in their lives. But someone who have proper samskaras, they know, even, if I'm like Vaishya, whatever my nature is very clearly defined, and I can be satisfied doing my activities. Not, like nowadays, people are so confused. Okay, so the point being made here is that yeah, we must endeavor to do and to establish that culture for people to come to Krishna consciousness, that they properly train in how to do proper spiritual family planning and conceive and bring and invite, create the most optimal situation so that Krishna may send a nice soul to us, a nice soul to this world, who may bring light into this planet, which is so dark. And the purport also, Prabhupada explains how the Mahabharata is meant specifically for people who are less intelligent. People in this age, they want to hear stories, they don't want to hear philosophy. And what Vyasadeva did, he put the philosophy in the form of the Mahabharata, in which we find, of course, the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita is actually the essence of the Upanishads. So, yeah, very important contribution. But even after having written that, still Vyasadeva felt dissatisfied. Like here it is. All twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of the people. So the homework for tomorrow is, for example, what was his qualifications? His qualification was he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of the people. If that was his qualification, why was he dissatisfied? So that you need to find that out also, okay? Despite all having all these qualifications, okay, what qualification he had? Still he was feeling dissatisfied. Why? And it's quite a few reasons there, and I would like you to get them all. See if you can find them all, because it's actually very instructive what we can learn from that. Okay, so we're gonna finish now. I'm just gonna share with you, okay, regarding to Dvija Bandhanam, we just recite here. Let's see. 1 second. Yeah, this is from, someone would like to read? Anyone?
So these things are going on in India because his forefather was a Brahmana or his father was a Brahmana, and although he has no qualification of a Brahmana, he also claims to be a Brahmana. But the scripture, the Vedic scripture, that does not allow.
Yeah, it's like if I am a doctor, or if I am a son of a doctor, doesn't mean I am a doctor. My father has the qualifications, but I don't. So Prabhupada had to, fight against this actually. Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, okay, someone else can read?
They will call, no, you are not a Brahmana, you are a Brahmana's son. That's all we can admit so far. There is no harm admitting you that you are the son of a Brahmana, but we cannot admit you a Brahmana. That is quite reasonable. So the Mahabharata was written for such persons.
Okay. So here is the Vyasadeva division of the Vedas. Initially was the Yajur Veda, and then that was divided into Rig Veda, Yajur, Atharva, and Sama Veda. And then the Puranas and Itihasas are considered the fifth Veda. And according to our previous acharyas, this, well, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the topmost Pramana, the topmost Vedic literature is Srimad-Bhagavatam, which falls into this category of Smriti Shastra, the Puranas. So I don't always show this chart, but I'm just going to finish with this today. If we have 2 minutes, so I'm just, is that in your handbook? So we have Vedic knowledge. We have like 2 main divisions. One of them is Shruti. And Shruti is, as I said, is reveal absolute truth, is unchangeable, exists eternally, and is written in Vedic Sanskrit, which is very difficult. And then you have Smriti, which Shruti is what is to be heard, Smriti is what is to be remembered. It's like Shruti is like reveal absolute truth, while Smriti is more like the tradition. It's composed by the sages, it's written in classic Sanskrit, even in other languages also. We have like Bengali. Then we have the Vedas, mainly is the 4 Vedas, which have got different divisions, the Samhitas, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. Then we have what is called the Upavedas, which are different Vedic sciences like Dhanurveda, Ayurveda, architecture, music, war, different sciences which are not strictly that, they're not directly connected with, self-realization, but they're part of the body of the Vedas. And the Vedangas that are dealing more with skills. This is also supplementary knowledge, but it's dealing with the skills in actually understanding the Vedas and putting them into practice, basically. So we have ritual, pronunciation, grammar, etymology, meters, astronomy. You teach, because if you want to perform a sacrifice, then you need to be able to calculate what is the auspicious time, and if you want to recite the mantras, you need to know the meters, you need to know how to pronounce the matter, you need to know how to do the rituals. So all these skills use. And then Smriti, we have like a ritual also, sutras, and there we have the Dharma Shastras. Particularly, Prabhupada referred sometimes to Manu Samhita. We have the Tantras, the Agamas, of which we are studying the Brahma Samhita, which falls in the category of, and the Pancharatras by the, is called the Vaishnav Agamas. Anyway, it requires, we're kind of running through it. I thought that it will have more impact to you if we put it here, and I just go like this through it. And then if you just look at it in your handbook. Then you have Itihasas, the historical records, includes the Mahabharata with Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana. And then you have the Puranas, in which actually you have 18 Mahapuranas, and you have the Upa Puranas, which are smaller. So initially, when Vyasadeva divided the Vedas and he wrote the Mahabharata and he wrote the Puranas. He wrote actually the Bhagavad Purana, but it was in an abbreviated form. And after Vyasadeva, after Narada Muni's instructions, he revised that Bhagavad Purana. He became what we are having today. And then we have the Satarshanas, which are not always accepted by our, acharyas, because they don't give like a full picture of reality. At the same time, they offer some practical contribution, except from Vedanta, of course, which is written by Vyasadeva himself. And the Vedanta is, basically a commentary on basically is the essence of the Upanishads. And the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is the Srimad-Bhagavatam. I'm going to jump through this. And then we're just going to finish. Okay. So we're going to finish here. So for tomorrow, as I said, here are the verses where you can find the Vyasadeva dissatisfaction. Is 1427 to 159. Okay. So we'll stop here. And it is 5:02. Okay, not bad. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Please remember that tomorrow class will begin half an hour earlier than usual. Okay, so that will be 1:30 India time. Okay, so please make sure you're on time, because we'll begin with this exercise. And then next week, Saturday, is Christmas Day. So because sometimes the devotees may have some engagement on that day or whatever. So next Saturday, we will not have class. Okay, we will only have class on Sunday. Okay, and then the class will be rescheduled later, so not to worry. All right, Prabhu, Srimataji, thank you so much.
Tomorrow from 1:30 to 4:30 or 5?
Tomorrow?
Yes, 1:30 to 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
No. We'll finish earlier for sure, of course. No worries. I made a mistake once. was a miscalculation. That's a punishment. We're gonna have our. No, we'll aim to finish even earlier tomorrow. I'll try to keep it much shorter than 3 hours. We'll finish earlier. Don't worry. Okay?
Okay. His Grace Radhika Nagara Prabhuji ki Jai.
Jai. You give us
Jai.
question.
Jai.
Someone has a question there.
I was
Charulata, yeah, go for it.
I was wondering, will you give us the question by tomorrow?
Will you what? Someone can, is someone there with the mic on?
OBA question, Prabhuji. Will you tell us the OBA question tomorrow?
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
Haribol. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.